Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Take a Pull podcast. A quarter of a century of Take a Pull podcast. This is Tap 25. Dec, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Same as it was a half an hour ago.
Since we last spoke, yeah, absolutely. Long time no talk. So hopefully you guys are listening to this after we've gone through the card at Fairy House and you're using the winnings of Verdant Place and Jouster and some of the others. Who else was there? The Lodge, Farmers Lodge. Hopefully they've all gone and won, and you have loads of money to go to war at Gowran with. One of my favourite standalone cards of the whole year is Thyestes Chase Day. Midweek, all of Kilkenny comes to a standstill for it. I think the kids get the day off school. It's always a rampant sellout. Fantastic handicap chase, also complemented obviously by the Galmoy hurdle. And a few other competitive little handicaps on the card too. Dec, I think you went down to the Galmoy last year, or the Thyestes Day last year, didn't you? Or 2 years ago?
I've been down a few times. I don't think it was down there last year. It's probably there the year before. It was actually, when I was back there when racing had only started to open back up.
Right, okay.
After the pandemic, so maybe that's 2 years ago. But
22, yeah, probably.
I've been down a few times. It's a great day. It does be rammed. It's and it's a lovely race course. Gowran, I really love the parade ring in Gowran with the trees in it, and it's definitely a day you need to get down and take off the bucket list. It's big fan of the day, and it's a brilliant chase. It always is every year, and it produces Gold Cup horses, produces Grand National winners.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
The Galmoy can be a tough watch at times. It can be a slow 3 mile hurling heavy ground, but it's a great day. Yeah,
absolutely. Fantastic days racing, and I think this is the second time we've covered Gowran. I think Tap 1 or 2 may have been Gowran Park, but I don't think we've been back since.
No, I think the first Tap 1 was Gowran.
I think it was Tap 1, yeah, absolutely. So it's great to have Gowran back in the loop, and we start with a race that you would love, Dec, obviously the Langton's Kilkenny handicap hurdle, and this is an 80 to 102, so dealing with the lower grade here, but that's absolutely no problem. A competitive field, you'd be surprised that it if it wouldn't be. We've got the 20 runners and the 3 reserves. Poor old Cristiano Moraldo will reserve again. Philip Rothwell must be hitting his head against the wall. She's often
what's she rated now?
89, even though she's won, which is something else.
I would say she's gonna turn up on a 0 to 95 soon, because like she'll get in now because of the ballot. Like
she should do, yeah. She was a little bit disappointing on her next start, but she should still still get in, because I think she had 2 of her last 3 now. She has been a reserve. I suppose the best place to look at, down the very, very bottom, Benji's Benefit, who has a form line of 9th, fell 7th, pulled up, and then recently 82 days ago fell in a point to point, but is now under the tutelage of Emmett Mullins in Paul Byrne's colours. His form resembles a postcode, but he's in here. First time for Emmett Mullins in those colours. The bookies are probably going to take no chances, but you're probably happy to let this horse set the market for you, are you?
Yeah, it's not one on my short list. I actually found this race difficult enough. There's a couple I nearly like, and none really I'm overly confident of. Champagne Maller probably didn't stay on handicap debut over 2.5. Drops back here for the second run, back to 2 miles. Again, wouldn't be mad in Champagne Maller. Star Official, he's very, very consistent. He's 1 off 95, he's off 102 now. Been knocking on the door. Well, when I say knocking on the door, been running into places. A bit like Dancing Jeremy we covered on
Goldhaven,
but life does become more difficult. Kilbarry Saint, the thing is, she's been handy plenty in her runs to date, and she's coming right back in trip. It is her second handicap, but maybe she's just not well enough handicapped. And I just have my reservations, even though, you know, it is our second handicap. Back in a bit, was fourth in the maiden, won by Western Fold. Western Fold actually won today at Down Royal. Was it today?
Down Royal. Well, we're recording Tuesday night, yeah.
Beat the art.
Won it well as well.
Back in a bit, ran in a handicap at Nace, but weakened very quickly in the first time tongue tie here. So, you know, maybe there is a wind issue there. I probably going for Z-Band, and I did say I'd back him a couple of taps ago. He came out. I think I'd actually 2 non-runners in the race. But was beaten 41 lengths into 18th in the race won by Attaboy Charlie. But as we mentioned, a lot of horses who I could end up putting up a double from that race on this time.
Yeah.
I think winners are going to come from that race, and I'd say you do as well. And
yeah,
they must have went quick. We've said that already. You mentioned Clonshire River, who, you know,
led turning for home and was beaten 36 lengths. Yeah.
Yeah, or improved into second, coming to the last, and was beaten 36 lengths. Z-Band was handy enough as well, beaten 41 lengths into 18th. That was his handicap debut. I think he's got to come off. I think that was a good race. I think he'll find lots of winners.
That was a hot race. The first 3 home were probably chucked in from a height because they were well clear, and obviously they were out the back. So that would have been Attaboy Charlie, and then was Rothwell's horse, and Nolan's horse, which had already won in the JP colours, was third. I'll get the names in a moment for you, but
yeah, look, out of them all, like there's a lot I nearly like, but yeah, it would be Z-Band. Actually, do you know what? The more I talk about it, the more confident I get. I do think it's a good race. I think winners are going to come out, and that was his handicap debut. He'd have learned a lot. So the owner did comment under one of our tweets the other night, just saying, look, he hopes all right. So good luck on Thursday. You know, it'd be a nice day to pick one up.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 horses that I was referring to in that novice handicap hurdle, Attaboy Charlie, who won it, Woodstream Lad, who had won his last start, I believe, and was second. Park of Kings, who had also won this season, was third. And it was 11 lengths back to the 4th horse, who actually had a very nice profile going into that race, Dollar No Limit, for Joseph O'Brien and Simon Munir, Isaac Swade. So you are right, that race is definitely going to be one to follow. Jack Gilligan as well, very, very capable jockey on Z-Band, and this should be a little bit more up his street. The one horse you did mention there, Dec, that I know you said you maybe been a little bit disappointed by, it's actually my selection though, is Kilbarry Saint, who goes in a tongue tie for another Gilligan, except it's Danny this time. This is actually his first start, I believe, ever. I'm just going to verify that now, but I think this is actually his first start at 2 miles. It is indeed, yes. This is his first ever start. He's coming right back in trip. Now, it strikes to me like that she's on a fact-finding mission. She was ridden quite aggressively at Tramore the last day, and then weakened jumping the second last, and before that at Limerick weakened very quickly coming into the home turn. So she might, like, you'd have a worry maybe that she has a breathing issue, or maybe she just blatantly doesn't stay, but they're bringing her back to 2 miles. And I think that's basically what I'm basing it on. It's usually the other way around. Usually you want to see them going up in trip, but she just doesn't look. She just looked a non-stayer the last twice. Con O'Keefe as well. Obviously, we know how good he's been with the likes of Silent Approach as well. Who's having a fantastic season, and you mentioned last week, I think, despite a run at Thurles, which was a week after a really good run at Punchestown, she'd probably be banged there in a Mare's Chase at Cheltenham if they do decide to go down that route. Trainer's very, very capable, and I would take a chance that coming back to 2 miles is going to bring out a little bit of improvement in her. Were you just about to say something there about Silent Approach, Dec?
Yeah, I think maybe the trip just stretched her. Like, I think that trip at Thurles takes a lot of getting. And I know Cheltenham is a stiffer track, and the trip is the same, but I think it can suit horses with a better turn of foot. Like,
Okay.
It's the same as what we said about the difference in the Kinloch Bray and the Ryanair. The two races are actually over the exact same trip. So I think maybe she just didn't quite get home. I wouldn't be worried about backing her in the mares.
No, they can fresh her up and go straight there. I think it was maybe she could have been feeling that run from a week ago, because with that penalty, it was a huge run. In my opinion, anyway. So
her Monument Maker on her day is very, very good, and she to give her weight
when she's not in the mood, or when she's not in the mood. When she is in the mood, like you see the Monument Maker that won at Thurles, or you see the Monument Maker that turned up at Cork. They're two completely different mares. So you just have to catch her on a going day. She's taken probably the L one out of Shattered Love was the L one, but her Monument Maker maybe might be the behaving like an L one, but we'll see anyway. She'll be going to the Mare's Chase as well, with a good chance if the real Monument Maker shows up too. But anyway, we move away from talking about the Mare's Chase. I don't know how we get from an 80 to 102 to the Mare's Chase, but there you go. Moving on to the 140 deck, and this is actually a race that I kind of glanced at and was like, oh. But then when you kind of look through it, I think this is actually quite an interesting match. It's the Connolly's Red Mills Irish EBF Ladies Auction Maiden Hurdle. I have it between two. Obviously, Captain Cody, who showed nice bumper form, was 6th, I think, in the champion bumper.
Yeah, that's right.
Jody Townend riding. This is his hurdling debut, so he's obviously had some sort of setback if we're not seeing him until mid to late January. Late January, pretty much. And then Back to Normal for Mags Mullins and Anya O'Connor. He won a bumper at Ballinrobe, beating Alvini, who is now with Willie Mullins, rated 126. Behind that day was Lucid Dreams, who ran into Dan Moore last week. He's a 140 odd chaser. Laser Wolf, who's good at his grade. He's a 1-teens type of hurdler. And Owen McCarthy had a one in there who ran well in the point to point, but you're getting far down the pecking order there, and you know what I mean. But for the time of year, Dec, that was a strong enough bumper. Do you think Back to Normal has the ability, obviously given a bit of weight away here to Captain Cody by the conditions of the race, or do you think this is going to be straightforward for Willie Mullins in May?
I think Captain Cody should win. Like, he was 6th in the bumper. Now, he's well beat at Aintree, and he's been off since, but he beat Blizzard of Oz in a bumper, and Back to Normal was behind Blizzard of Oz in a bumper. So that's the only real way I'm looking at this race. And look, it's not betting. In Maiden Hurdle Ireland, we're only 6 runners.
It's rare. It's rare.
Yeah, you're doing well to bury one in here, so it's not an awful lot of interest to me. This maiden.
Fair enough. Look, I suppose you check Captain Cody has the form behind Slade Steel, beat Blizzard of Oz, ran well behind the Dream to Share. I just wonder that he has obviously had some sort of setback. Back to Normal probably has had one as well, but the only reason I think Back to Normal might be maybe okay is because he didn't debut until March last year, when he was behind Blizzard of Oz and then won his bumper at Ballinrobe. I feel like he might be here by design with a view for a campaign into the early summer, whereas Captain Cody with Willie Mullins in that operation, you would expect to see him out quite early. But the weight difference is what probably stops me from backing Back to Normal. Like, that's 6 pounds is an awful lot. But I think that Back to Normal is definitely a very nice horse on the basis of what he did at Ballinrobe, and I will be following him very, very closely. He should have the ability to win a maiden hurdle, and I'd be quite interested to see how he fares up against likely the long odds on favourite in Captain Cody. I don't know if you've anything else to add to that maiden, Dec now?
No, not really. It's not one I'm overly interested in.
No worries. Well, you're probably going to be more interested in this one. The John Mulhern Galmoy Hurdle, grade 2, over 3 miles, and we get 5 runners: Ashdale Bob, Fruit Delane, Monkfish, who still is yet to jump a fence, since injury. Somerville boy, the old pensioner, former Supreme Novices hurdle winner, now 12 years of age. Ran really well though in handicap company last time out. And the Devil's Coachman, who's a horse I've always had a very, very soft spot for. I don't really want to put him in the class. Do I want to class him as disappointing? He probably has disappointed me a little bit if I want to put my critical hat on. But Dec, I'll pass it to you first.
I think he's been disappointing because yourself had big hopes for
Gold Cup expectations for him, really.
Yeah, and we were over the moon when he skipped Cheltenham as a novice. We thought it was the right thing for him, and they'd reap the rewards of that. But it just hasn't really happened for him. Like did he win a Boyne hurdle?
He won a Boyne hurdle very, very cozily under Mark Welch. I think that was the year. I think he jumped fences that year. Yeah, he won it by a short head, but he ran behind. Oh, who was it?
It was the perfect.
It was Saint Sam. It was the year Saint Sam was a novice, and he was running over 2 miles. And
I think they might have ran in the same beginner's chase at Fairyhouse. And Saint Sam gave him a bit of a hiding, actually. He was very impressive that day, Saint Sam. But he was getting a lot of weight, if I remember, because he would have been maybe still 4.
Yeah, he was Saint Sam was 4. Like he was in a beginners behind Fernie Hollow and Course Sublime, but finished ahead of the likes of Gentleman to Me, and then ran behind Saint Sam, who was getting a lot of weight off him, a little bit of weight off him. He was a 4-year-old at the time, and then he came back in the Boyne hurdle and beat Ashdale Bob by the snuggiest head you'll ever see in your life. And then he went chasing then the following year, but. Yeah, he's been a hard one to kind of figure out, to be honest.
Yeah, he probably would have won a Coral Cup.
He was favoured for the Coral Cup after the Galmoy.
With the ground it's been run on the last couple of years, but I was actually I got confused and I thought he wanted good ground, and you remind me now he doesn't want good ground. He's been kept us off the ground, so that's why I was kind of discarding him. And I do really like Ashdale Bob. Ashdale Bob's a horse I've always liked, and he handles this ground. And a lot of days, I don't know what to make of Monkfish, to be honest, because he made a nice return, but then he disappointed the next day. And look, they don't always come back, do they? He was off for a long time. For Luke Delenn, I don't think he's right the same as Ashdale Bob, but I don't think he'd be as good as him. I actually Ashdale Bob's quite a nice hurdler. Somerville boy takes everything home with him every time he won a Supreme Novice, taking every hurdle home with him. He must have some engine, but he just can't jump well enough. I'd still go with Ashdale Bob here. This might be one of the easier fields he's ran in.
Quite possibly.
This race has been better over the years than, I think this is one of the, less than vintage renewals of the race. Look, they've all attempted to jump a fence, as, they often have in this division, but I think it's definitely one of the weaker renewals. I'd fancy Ashdale Bob.
Yeah, fair enough. I would still stick with the Devil's Coachman, even though we did say he was disappointing. Like, I think he's beaten Ashdale Bob the last twice that they've met, which was last time out of Punchestown, although the Devil's Coachman did have the benefit of a run, albeit a slightly disappointing one in the Tri-Town. And then I think they both lined up in that New Year's Eve handicap hurdle, or not that New Year's Eve hurdle. They both lined up obviously in the Boyne that we were talking about, where the Devil's Coachman won by a very, very snug head. Obviously that was quite a while ago, but the handicapper has 2 pounds between them. I'd say there's maybe 2 or 3 pounds between them on all known form. The Devil's Coachman's still only an 8-year-old, which is kind of hard to believe, but he did win a 4-year-old bumper, one of the first 4-year-old bumpers, I think, of the season when he was a young horse. Farouk Delane in his first time cheek pieces as well. He's Pertemps qualified now. I think that's quite an interesting entry. Surely they're just giving him a pipe opener with an aim to go that route at Cheltenham. He's an Irish 150. I can't see the British handicapper giving him much more than that. So he's probably best watched in this context. Monkfish, first run of the season, as I said, obviously hard to train. And you're dead right, Dec. They don't always come back. There's not every horse gets a sprinter sacre type of story. And then you obviously mentioned Somerville Boy, who is the rag of the field, but I could see him going well, given the bad ground. And he's obviously in good heart, given his run at Navan last time out. So, yeah, I'd be with the Devil's Coachman. I think one of the top two in the betting are going to win it. But I think the Devil's Coachman is definitely the one to be with. So, moving on then, Dec, I suppose. And I think we actually do have a nap of the tap coming here, which is brilliant because it's the big race of the day, the Thyestes Chase, the 250. What a field we have. 19 or 18 with the one reserve, where it all began, waiting on getting in here. And I think he's actually out of the handicap off 127 there, or he's due to run off 127, but I think he's a little bit less than that. Where do you want to start here, Dec? Do you want to start with the nap of the tap? Obviously, Angels Dawn, I think, is the 5-1 favourite as we currently record right now. And
she's short. There's been money for her.
There has been money, and Dunboyne, who ran so well off a bit of a break, fourth behind Cocoa Beach in the Tri-Town, didn't go a yard in the Grand National. Obviously, hated every minute of that. They bypassed the Welsh National. He was right up in the betting for the Welsh National, but they've obviously decided to come here for whatever reason. But yeah, take it away there. Tri-Town Field, Thyestes Field.
Yeah, look, obviously a big fan of Angels Dawn. She's a Kim Moore winner. She was sixth in the Irish National off this mark, 138. She's been hurdling since. I think she was a little bit disappointed in the last day at Navan. I fancied her off a much lower hurdle mark, but she's a chaser at the end of the day. But she wasn't a bad novice hurdler either, and that's why I was so disappointed the last day. There's nothing wrong with her form as a novice hurdler. But I just think she's 9 now. She's probably just within the grasp of the handicapper, and look, that there's one in here who looks really well handicapped. He looks really unexposed, and it's Glenn Gooley. He was second on handicap debut of 137, ahead of Captain's Nephew, who was second today. Was he second? He was second.
Yeah, he had the race at his mercy, but he just was outstayed over the 2 miles by Irish Blaze. But yeah, it was a frank to the form anyway.
Yeah, Falco Blitz was in there.
Winner on Sunday.
At Taurus on Sunday. And Bonnie Kelly was going to win against Hardware when she came down at the last or the second last at Punchestown.
She took the second last home with her, but yeah, the jockey hailed the cab and she actually stayed up, I'm pretty sure. But it was a race ending mistake.
Yeah, definitely. She was going to win the race. Let's be honest. He's had 12 career runs. He's an 8-year-old. I just think he's very unexposed. He is the one. Now, the fly in the ointment could be Braun if he's off the gargle. I don't know what he's been up to, but it's his handicap debut, first time cheek pieces as well. It is hard to know, has this been the plan with him, because he hasn't looked like the horse we seen in the RSA last year, where he went from fence to fence up there with the real whacker. I just think he didn't get home. He's only 7. He's plenty of time on the side. But then I'm kind of wondering about the form of our RSA as well, although that's probably a little bit harsh. Jerry Clone was second in
Maximus Irish National winner in behind there as well, and Trinmore winner, but
he's a headbanger though. But yeah, I suppose I thought Brown on the cracker that day, just didn't go home, and I think he's gone to prove range. He'd be winning. I thought he'd have been a Gold Cup horse. I actually backed him Andy Pulse for the Gold Cup, but he's been a little bit disappointed. But you'd have to wonder if that was by design too. He's coming in here, handicap debut, first time pieces. He's definitely a danger, but I just think Glenn Gooley of 141. Looking at the form of that race at Limerick, Tim Duggan, that he's jumping off the page, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. He is going to be the nap at the top. That Tim Duggan's form is looking very, very strong. A clear career best. It didn't look like he was in love with fences. He fell behind Impervious at Punchestown in that grade 3 that we talked about in the previous top, with Silent Approach, Splend's Tower, etc. And then he was pulled up in a 10 up as well behind Churchstone Warrior, and was a no-show then behind Flame Bearer, but he just looked like a different horse behind Happy Dreams in the at Limerick. And I think stepping up to 3 miles should bring out some improvement. Again, as you said, Dec, very, very unexposed. It's only his 6th career chase. 141 looks fair enough based on what he did last time out. Just natural progression should have him bang there. We'll give a little shout out to Stormy Judge as well, who was a good 4th behind Waterford Whispers at Ferryhouse, a very eye-catching 4th when he was a total rag of the field. Triple figures that day, was beaten 15 lengths, but that race has worked out extremely well. A good few winners in behind Waterford Whispers already that day, including Tuesday's Gowran winner, Down Royal winner, Western Fold in there too. But he was quite an eye catcher. He took the widest route around when beaten by Music of Tara at Leopardstown on the 28th. I put him into my notebook as a potential next time out winner over hurdles, but it was obviously maybe a pipe opener to this to keep the mark of 132 tidy for him. He was pulled up in the Scottish National, I think it was 2 seasons ago. He missed last season due to injury, but he did go off co-favourite that day for the Scottish National, and this is his first start over fences, I believe, since. So that would dictate that maybe connections have eyed this race up from a long, long way out for him, and they're getting in off 132, so he could be dangerously handicapped. But just the fact that he hasn't jumped fences in a while would be the slight deterrent there, but it looks like it's been by design. So he is one to keep a very, very close eye on, but I do completely agree. Glengooly looks like he's going to take the beating here. You look through a few more up the top, ain't that a shame? He must owe punters a fortune at this stage.
Yeah.
Like, he's gone off short a lot of times, and I don't think he stays 3 miles personally. Travelled like a dream at Aintree as well, didn't get home. Has been nabbed late in races like the Paddy Power, a Munster National as well, if I think that comes to mind, although he did make a mistake at the last that day. Gevry as well, he's either won or been pulled up on his last 3 starts. Was very disappointing, I thought, though. Was very keen. He just didn't look like he was looked like he had an issue the last day at Navan, and we haven't seen him in a little over 2 months, so he has a bit to prove now. Any second now, legend of a horse, Pensioner. I'd love to see him run well, but he's probably flying a bit too high these days, and it's a pity that the handicapper in England thought he was a 167 horse last year or whatever he was. That's baffling. You could nearly have a podcast on how ludicrous that was. Espinito Bello as well, another nice horse, who won over hurdles this season and has definitely been targeted at this. But yeah, and then you have obviously Dec, you talked about Braun too. But no, for me, I'm really, really like Glengooly. I think he's a very, very good chance. If anybody did want to have a saver on Stormy Judge, I could see the case for it. But Glengooly is easily my selection here as well. Very much looking forward to this race, and yeah, it's going to be a nap at the top, Dec.
Yeah, I think so.
Happy days. Moving on then to the 325 next race on the card, the Daily Farrell Chartered Accountants Beginners Chase. Oh my lord, was unfortunate to unseat behind Marine Nationale. I think he would have probably been booked for second because he was only coming into it from behind that day, and given how badly the runner up that day, who was Firm Footings, I think. Yeah, how badly he petered out, I'd imagine he would have been booked for second. Do you think he follows up here, Dec?
I do. I think it's between Oh My Lord and Saint Felician. As you said, he did unseat against Marine Nationale. He was second to Illit Thomas before that, who has been, since second to Gaelic Warrior. I was struggling to to decide between them, but I've gone for the younger horse. Oh my lord, he's a 6-year-old. Saint Felician's a 7-year-old. Like, again, his forms. Now he's 13 lengths behind Indiana Dream. We never really got to see how good that form was, but Indiana Dream was very, very impressive that day. He was third to Fast Vega before that. But I'll go with Oh My Lord. Arctic Brazil is in here as well. He's definitely
hard to trust.
To which?
Sorry, Dec, it's probably hard to trust.
Oh, yeah, look, 12 lengths off Spillane Tower, which I suppose is decent form. It's actually a similar distance to he was the same distance behind him over hurdles as well, which you don't always see. But yeah, it'd be Oh My Lord for me. I think it's between Oh My Lord and Saint Felicia, but yeah, I'd be siding. Now, I'm not saying like probably puts me in the Marine National camp, does it? That's why people are going to look at this. That's the way racing's
gone. Be the tabloid punters would probably say, yeah, Dec's all over Marine National.
Yeah, you have to you pick a team and race now
and post your bet slip.
And post your bet slip, yeah. So, it's funny the way this is working out though. They form behind the two of them. I can see people getting excited about that on Thursday. Yeah,
no, absolutely. But look, it depends what way you want to look at Fast Vegas Chase and debut. San Felician was the only one that really took him on that day, but couldn't follow up behind Indiana Dream. I don't think that was any fault of San Felician. I think Indiana Dream is a proper horse, and it's a pity he's out for the season. Obviously very, very difficult to train. Major pity. And with Oh My Lord, though, these are horses I've always had a lot of time for. And Willie Mullins, like, he won his maiden at Navan with him, doing handstands, and put him straight into Grade 1 company. They went straight for the Ballymore. So, like, he was kind of fighting an uphill battle, going off 50-1 for that, and then getting pulled up behind Nick Rocket around Easter time. But as you said, he was behind the Lete Tomp and then unseated when asked for a big one at the second last. And look, who knows how close he could have gotten to Marine National. He wasn't going to beat him, but like, I'd say it'd have been a really good second, and that form is better. I think if he'd stayed up, I think that form would have looked better than what San Felician has shown. Be interesting to see what the betting market thinks of this. But yeah, no, it'd be Oh My Lord for me as well. I think he'd be a graded chaser in time, and he probably just needs the experience. As I said, he's gotten a lot of his experience in graded races and very, very high quality races, which is sometimes difficult for a novice, especially one that's only had 7 lifetime starts. He may have been a horse that might have been better suited to possibly going down the educational route, skipping Cheltenham and the big festivals as a novice hurdler. It's not as if Willie Mullins was lacking darts. And maybe that route over along with fences might have helped him too, that Devil's Coachman or Spillane's Tower type of route. But he's been pitched into another hot race, but I think he's going to be able to win this. Obviously a race that was won last year by Connections or it was maybe 2 years ago. Sorry, I'm thinking of Sir Gerhard. Yeah, so we'll both go with Oh My Lord there, Dec. Moving on then to the 4 o'clock, the Adair Manor Opportunity Handicap Hurdle, and 80-1, 2-3. It doesn't get much easier, I suppose. Champagne Platinum back over hurdles, interesting to see. Plying his trade in all sorts of races now, be it the banks, fences or hurdles. But you did fancy one here, Dec. 9 runners, and who was it?
Yeah, be keen enough on that Pumwall. He was beat 15 lengths in that handicap hurdle that we spoke about, the one that Attaboy Charlie won. He came from, the ones up at the pace that struggled, but he came off the pace. He kept on really well. I thought that was his handicap debut. He's just been a horse that's been steadily improving. I think he was actually on debut. Attaboy Charlie was second to Waterford Whispers in his race. I'm not sure what distance he was beaten that day, but
I'll tell you now.
22
lengths.
22 lengths, and then beaten 15 lengths. What was the weight difference? What was Attaboy Charlie?
Attaboy Charlie 11-12. Well, they're obviously both 11-12 for the maiden, and there was about 14 odd lengths, or not, sorry, 14, about 20 lengths between them. If you take out Waterford Whispers, Attaboy Charlie then at 11-2 to Sat Planporn was 10-9, so fairly enough matched. but Attaboy Charlie was probably getting the advantage there. Well, clearly was getting the advantage there. Yeah, but it would make you think that one handicap run, and 104, it's definitely workable, but maybe a step up in trip is the only thing was missing for you to be giddy, was it?
Yeah, it probably is. Like this is 2 miles, and as I said, he was staying on that day. But look, just looking at this race, I'd still be keen enough on him. Like, you know, I think the more we talk about that race that Attaboy Charlie won, you know, the more I do think we're going to see more and more winners from it. And like I said earlier, as I was talking about the race, I was convincing myself more and more about Z-Band. So, you know, I might even play that double on Thursday, Z-Band and Saplan for more, but he's the only one I really like in this race. So, yeah, all right. If he was stepping up a trip, we'd be getting
the wheelbarrow back out.
Yeah, but no, he's definitely the one I like in this race.
Perfect. And not just a quick mention deck, because one you did tip the last time, Billy Lee Swagger. You just think he's had his turn now, is it?
Yeah, like what did he get?
He didn't. He was basically the lower grade Somerville boy. Like, he literally did not jump a hurdle and still won by a snug half a length. £7 he got. Or sorry, no, £8 he got. Sorry, Deck, £8.
£8. Yeah, look, kind of. It's when they have their turn, I move on. You know, or life gets hard for them. You know, you move on to the next one, and as if they're good enough to go up in grade, they get their chance again if they're improvers, like, you know. But at this level, I just find life can get hard for them, so it's usually someone else's turn, and hopefully it's that Plan Pourmois' turn.
With a bit of luck, I had very little opinion on this race, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from with Saplan Pourmois. Yeah, that was, we mentioned a few times about that race on Boxing Day / Stephen's Day with involving Attaboy Charlie. Sarah Kavanagh taking off the £4 there as well. Quite an interesting runner for sure, and yeah, kind of weird to only see 9 runners in a handicap hurdle on a card like this, but here you go.
It is odd that, like, you know, such a big day, and like you've 12 grand to the winner of that. Oh, but it is an auction maiden, like you've only 6 runners. Yeah, it's unusual that the fields are quite small.
Yeah, also interesting that Billy Lee Swagger goes here instead of the first race, which is over 2 miles as well, but is at 80 to 102. So Philip Rothwell opting to go for the 10 stone 4 instead of the bigger weight. Both races would have been available to him, but interesting enough there. The PJ Foley Memorial flat race or bumper is the final race on the card deck. Again, 7 runners. Chances are we probably see a good horse here, though. Philip Rothwell has one in there at the top, Harry's Dream. It's a Blue Moon for Gordon Elliott. Any others? Yes, Samir as well. Joseph O'Brien for Rob Core. That's a bit of a, I think that's a new combo. I
thought Joseph was going more towards the flat, so going to have less and less jumpers.
I have a theory about this guy.
Go on.
And I bet you this is a very good horse. If you look at his pedigree, he's by Sea the Moon, and he's out of a Daylami mare, and he cost 280 grand at the sales as a yearling. So that was at the Tats Book 2 in England. So for context, Book 2 is where you go and you buy, like, that's a very, very high quality it's a very high quality sale where you're trying to pick up top flat horses. Goes without saying. I would imagine this horse was bought and ended up in Joseph's yard and took a long, long time to come to hand, probably backwards and as slow as an old boat. But someone probably had the eye on Joseph saying, this one's coming to hand. This is probably a nice horse. And I'd say he got on the phone and said, is this thing, you know, the owner probably wanted to get whatever they could back. National Hunt boys come knocking. He's by Sea the Moon. He's by the right sire. He stayed in Joseph's. I'd say Joseph has had this horse for a long, long time. And they wouldn't offer a horse to connections like robbed Corhair if he wasn't useful. So that's my theory behind it. And yeah, John Gleeson rides. Would I be confident enough to be backing him first time out in a bumper where every horse is unraced? It's a 4-year-old bumper. It's very early in the season. Absolutely not. But I would have a hunch that Joseph has had this horse since he was a nipper, and he's probably a good one for the bumper ranks going forward. I'm not sure if you have any other opinion on this race, Dec, but I'll pass over to you now.
No, I don't. I have no opinion on it. Absolutely.
No worries. You'll watch it and probably back something for the champion bumper after. Yeah, no, we'll see. Nap of the tap material Dec, as you said there, I'll actually hold it up. It is Glen Gooley. And you're confident, are you?
Yeah, I was, and then I was delighted when you text me earlier. Saying,
He looks,
my God,
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and this is not premeditated for anybody listening. I'll actually show you. We can show you that. We'll post a text on Twitter, and maybe if he goes and does it, we'll see. But yeah, no, that's brilliant. Very much enjoyed that Dec. Top 25 in the books. Here's to another 25 and many, many more. We'll be back for top 26, probably the weekend. You were saying, Dec, where we
yeah, we'll on Thursday. It'll be Fairy House again, and we might touch on Nice a little bit, and we'll also be joined by Ian Donoghue, who had another winner today, St. Denis as well, following up 3 days after his win the weekend. So fair play to him. He's a trainer and on the up, so he's going to come on and have a chat with us. And and we'll get stuck into Fairy House then.
Yeah, and then following hot on the coattails of that will be top 27, where we're going to be looking at the Dublin Racing Festival, and that will be anchored by Hugh Cahill. So that is very, very exciting as well. We're going to have a good bit of fun there. That might be an extended one because we're going to be doing the 2 days. And we'll try and get something out of Hugh Cahill that's not what people are saying, 7-4. We want something a bit bigger.
But he reckons he'll try find some above 7-4 across the 2 days.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. And yeah, the podcast goes from strength to strength, which is the main thing. And we thank you all for listening and subscribing and viewing and retweeting and engaging. It means the world to us. We only do it out of the good of our health, and we will continue to do it out of the good of our health. But until top 26, that was top 25. And keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.